Hello and welcome to Groundbreakers. I'm Joe Washington. Today we're going to take you through a great landscape renovation project. This house sits on a wonderful piece of property, but the front landscaping and entryway of the house don't work well with the flow of the yard. The back is also in desperate need of a facelift. Let's meet the homeowner now and hear what he wants from his new landscape design.
A combination of this neighborhood, this location, and specifically, and the construction of this house, it's very well built. It's got all the potential. All we have to do is bring it out.
The house, high on a hill on a large corner lot, is an impressive sight from the street. It wasn't until the new homeowner, Mike, moved in and lived here a while that he could see some serious flaws in the way guests access the house.
The front stoop was 4-foot drop off. So if you fell off the stoop, and there was no rails around it, you fell off the stoop, you're going to hurt yourself. The second thing is it was small. So if you walked up the stairs and made it to the front stoop and someone opened the door quickly, they will knock you off the stoop. And third, you had to pull your car into the garage, walk along the edge of the house on this sidewalk, go past one front door, which is into the kitchen, and then go to the second front door. Now you instantly feel compelled to stop at the first front door you see. So no one ever made it to that second front door, which was the real principal entranceway to the house.
While the aesthetic look of a house on a hill is appealing to Mike, he now knows there's a downside to that attribute. He discovered it the first time he did the yard work.
The difficult part is you have an 18-foot drop-off from the base of the house to the road. Kids can't play on that yard. It's difficult to cut the yard because you're either pushing up and down the hill or something like that. So when you have a steep hill, anytime you can break up that hill using planting or walls, it's going to help the visual look, and it's going to enhance that, what I call that on the hill kind of majestic look that I'm trying to pull off of the house.
Another one of Mike's ideas for making his home more guest-friendly is a circular driveway. His ultimate goal is to have a home where his guests feel welcome from the time they park until long after they leave.
I like wowing people. I like them to be surprised. It's important that to have guests that from the time they pull them into your yard, into your house, that the whole experience is positive from beginning to end. So by creating the circular driveway and having a nice walkway up to the front door and having them come into the front door is one way of dealing with that. Likewise, when they're at your house and you choose to entertain because it was a wonderful evening outside, to be able to walk out the back door and have a very large, grand deck of some sort to entertain.
When all is said and done, Mike wants his front and backyard to be worthy of the majestic property on which it sits. He'd like a backyard suited to his lifestyle, somewhere he can relax and enjoy his time away from work. He also wants every inch of his home, inside and out, to provide a comfortable setting for everyone who visits.
The feeling that I like my guests, friends, to have when they come into my house is one of a very warm, welcoming environment. Casual. Feel free to plop down anywhere.
Mike found the landscape architect who will take this challenging project and create the changes that he desires. Don't go away, because when we return, we'll meet the architect, and then demolition begins. Hello and welcome back to Groundbreakers. Today we're following the renovation of this yard. Originally, the front of the house, including the front door, was never used because of poor planning and an awkward flow through the yard. The backyard had a small plain patio off to the side of the house, barely big enough for entertaining. Let's meet the landscape architect now, who is going to transform this yard into the space the homeowner desires. Looks like the homeowner's got a lot going on here.
There's an awful lot going on with renovations inside as well as outside.
I'm here with Chris Rowden of Rowden Land Planning. Chris, as we saw earlier, the homeowner is interested in taking care of a lot of problems relating to his yard, as well as creating some areas for entertaining that are functional and relaxing. Could you tell us what kind of problems you run into?
Well, this is an interesting site because it's a corner lot with a house sitting up much higher than the road on this side, and a slope going up this way with the house being level to the road at this point. So it presents some interesting grading and drainage problems.
And you've got some shade issues going on in back as well.
We certainly do. Compatibility with plant material in lawn areas will be an issue.
Now, how do you plan to address all this with your plan?
Well, what we're going to try to do is revise the plan, renovate the driveways, the garage area, the entertaining areas, the sidewalks and retaining walls, and try to make it a more functional, usable space.
Okay, tell us about the driveway area and what you're going to do in front as well as in back of the house.
Well, currently there's a garage on the side of the house, and what we're doing is doing away with that. We're going to have a separate detached garage on the side and allow driveway access, which we've relocated. It's going to come in from here, give the homeowner an opportunity to pull in, two-point turn and exit, while guests can pull in and park here and have a nice walk up the new sidewalk through these new retaining walls. They would also drive out and exit this way. In the backyard, what we're going to do is rip up the existing patio altogether and really enlarge it and make it more user-friendly. The homeowner told us that what they wanted to have design considerations for would be the hot tub area. We designed a fire pit into it to keep it more interesting so they could actually cook or just be outside on a nice cool winter evening. Also wanted to have a lawn area that would accommodate volleyball, because that was something he wanted us to look into. So really trying to make sure everything works together and it's functional as well as aesthetically pleasing was the factors.
Okay, now I know there are some drainage problems here. How do you plan to address those?
Well, drainage is something we deal with on every project, and what we're going to do back here behind this wall is we're going to put some catch basins as well as a French drain behind the wall to catch any water that would want to work its way towards the house. We're also going to pitch the paper patio just slightly so it'll sheet drain the water off to the left side. We're also going to put catch basins in behind the retaining walls in the front, so we won't have any kind of dirt or soil or sediment washing across the sidewalk or across the driveway.
Okay. Tell me a bit more about the retaining walls here. What kind of material are you going to use?
Well, having a curvilinear wall was key to the design, so we're using a concrete masonry unit, which is a textured face concrete block. In this case, we're going kind of a taupe-ish sandstone color to it. It'll be very complementary to the house. They won't draw attention away from the house or from the plantings, but yet it'll be very functional, so they're going to be very nice to look at.
Could you go into more detail about those plantings?
Sure. The plantings were obviously a very big portion. We wanted to have a lot of color, create a lot of year-round interest, and we've done that by varying the heights and colors of the plants, the textures of the leaf, when the blooms happen, even creating some nice fragrances so that when you're outside and you're seeing it from the street or actually a pedestrian walking to the house or entertaining on the back, you kind of can take advantage of all the opportunities.
Right. Well, when we get in the backyard, the hot tub and the zoysia lawn area are really key because this homeowner wants to do some entertaining.
Yeah, that was a big factor. And so part of that was to be able to have the hot tub area attached to the brick paver patio, but not take up any space. So really what we did is we made it step down, and we've used a 20-inch seating wall, which would be nice to give us the opportunity to sit without having to have chairs all over the patio and take up space.
Okay, and of course volleyball on the zoysia lawn, yeah.
There's no better grass out there.
All right. Well, Chris, thanks a lot, and we'll check in with you later in the show, but for now, let's return to the yard where demolition is underway. The demolition of the yard is giving the front-end loader a real workout. In the front yard, workers start with grass, shrub, and tree removal, dirt redistribution, and grading to prepare for the terraces. To prepare the backyard for renovation, a front-end loader pulls out all the overgrown brush. Some of the shrubs against the house are so deeply rooted, a front-end loader has to pull them out. Next, the operator moves to the patio and destroys it to make way for the new, larger patio. There are no plans to save any of the patio material for later use. To take out the old walkway, the front-end loader takes the lead by pulling it up in large pieces. But as they get closer to the house, workers take the precaution of using sledgehammers to break up the concrete. At the front door, the stoop is also destroyed. The large boulder that inhabits the front yard needs to be moved for the new construction, but it's destined for another, more decorative destination in the yard. The debris pile gets bigger and bigger as workers take out the current driveway. Once again, the front-end loader breaks up the concrete into manageable pieces and transports the debris to the designated area. The demolition is complete and the new landscaping is beginning to take shape. Stay with us because when we return, construction of the new driveway and patio areas begin. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to Groundbreakers. I'm Joe Washington. On the show today, we're covering this large, challenging landscape. The front yard slopes steeply away from the house, creating an unusable plain area. and the backyard had little to offer a homeowner looking for space for entertaining. The new plan calls for an impressive terraced front with a circular driveway and a nice patio area out back. Demolition of the area is now complete and work is underway. It's the third week into the project, and before the crew starts with front and backyard retaining wall construction, they have to dig deep trenches to redirect some water and power lines that will get in the way of construction. Once the lines are moved, wall construction starts. In the front yard, it's a continual process of grading for the terraces and building the walls. Workers dig shallow trenches, which are then tamped to make them level and prepared with a gravel base to help with drainage. The importance of good drainage hits home early on when the first of many rainy days plagues the project. David Morgan, the project supervisor, explains the difficulty.
Well, right now there's a bit of a drainage problem. The biggest problem is probably the clay is just so wet and it doesn't drain well. It just, every time we make a footprint, the water stands. But with some more grading, we'll solve all these drainage problems back here after the pavers are down.
It's the end of the first month of construction, and workers continue building retaining walls. They're using a modular block wall. As the walls progress, more gravel is poured behind the walls as part of the drainage system. The plan calls for a fire pit area that is incorporated into the wall's design. The homeowner wants to put in a fireplace down the road, so the plan will allow him to add this at a later date. Workers also get going on the patio construction. First, they brush the lower side of the house with waterproofing tar. The new patio will be several inches higher than the old one, so the waterproofing will prevent water from reaching the crawl space under the house. After a horizontal level for the patio is determined, a 4-inch layer of stone and sand aggregate is spread and compacted. This is followed by a 1-inch layer of granite sand into which the pavers are set. The pavers are slightly pitched away from the house as another drainage precaution. As the patio construction reaches the walls, the shape of the pavers becomes critical. Each one is cut to size and pounded in for a tight, secure fit. In front of the house, the extensive wall work marches on. All told, this project will use almost 60 tons of wall, stone, and pavers. They also begin preparing for the new walkway and front door landing and steps. Dirt is added, graded, and tamped alongside the house. The last few weeks have been filled with wall building and rain delays. Great progress has been made on the walls, and it's time to construct the front door landing and steps. The same pavers used for the patio are used for the landing and walkway. The 4-inch aggregate is spread and tamped, followed by the granite sand and the pavers. The final step in wall construction is installing the capstone. David Morgan explains the process.
We're using a construction adhesive to attach the cap to the block. It's a polyurethane-based adhesive that won't crack, won't buckle during the extremes of heat and cold. Actually, once this stuff sets up, you'll break the block trying to pull it in two before the glue will pull apart. We don't need to use it on the block below because gravity holds the block together that way.
Now comes the huge job of framing and pouring a circular driveway. The proposed driveway area has been dug out and graded. The extensive wood frame stretches across the yard. Before the concrete is poured, workers dig trenches for drainage pipes. Next, the concrete trucks, 7 of them, deliver almost 40 cubic yards of concrete. It's poured, spread, screeded, and smoothed by a number of boot-wearing workers. With a new driveway in place, workers begin construction on the new garage. It starts with the framing. The garage has been designed to complement the house and provide more space than the original garage. A month and a half later, the construction is wrapping up, and workers are ready to install the irrigation system. The irrigation system has been designed to water the bed areas separate from the turf areas because the water requirement for each of those areas is different. Although a few shrubs were installed earlier, the bulk of the planting begins this week. The large boulder has been moved to its new location and is getting its own decor. A yard this size takes a number of plantings, and as David Morgan explains, each one gets a good head start.
First, we start off by digging a hole that's at least 3 times the size of the root ball. We backfill that hole with a custom blend of planting mixture and pack them in real good, water them in immediately, and they'll be fine.
The circular driveway is getting special treatment. It's being lined with flowering crepe myrtles for added color and dramatic effect. Workers spend the final week of the project laying sod in the front and backyard. A hardy Meyer zoysia is used because it's a warm season turnip, slow growing and relatively disease resistant. They edge out the beds and make sure everything's just right. The landscaping is almost complete. When we come back, we'll meet up with the landscape architect and the owner as we take a tour of the newly renovated yard. Hello and welcome back to Groundbreakers. Well, we've got dramatic changes here, not only in the backyard, but also in the front yard, which means we've got a lot to talk about, so let's not waste any time. I'm here with Chris Rowden, the landscape architect. Good to see you.
You too, Jim.
Chris, everything has changed here. I hardly recognize this home. Tell us what you had to work with in the beginning.
Well, we had a great opportunity. It was basically a clean slate. We had a driveway coming into the side of the house, which we changed. We had a small backyard patio, which we changed. And not a lot of plant material, so we added a lot of plant material for screening things. So we had a great opportunity to do some fun things.
Well, you talk about change. Everything has changed. What a transformation here. Show us around.
Starting in the front yard, what we had to work with was initially redoing the front driveway. As we moved the garage from existing interior garage and made it a separate detached garage, that gave us an opportunity to have a nice driveway sweep across the front yard. That was important because when guests used to come to the house, they'd have to park on the side and either go in the garage or walk along sidewalk around to the front, which was unclear because there were two doors. Now they can actually pull right into the front of the house and have a nice walk on a wide walkway right up to the front door. That was another big factor. We wanted to make it inviting as well as aesthetically appealing from the street. So what we did was we used a retaining wall to kind of take up some of the slopes and then had nice wide landing, nice wide steps up to it with low risers, and it has a nice flow right to the front door. In the backyard, what we did was to come in and rip out the existing patio, add a wider patio, longer, just to get more square footage. Entertaining was our big focus, and so what we really tried to do was to make it where it would be comfortable for people to sit, whether we're entertaining a large crowd or a smaller crowd. Wanted to have a hot tub area that wouldn't impact the circulation if you did have a large crowd. And so what we did is we used a retaining wall, used as a seating wall as well as to take up some elevation change, and really just have a nice area for dining, and make it fun. We also had to add a nice lawn area in the back for volleyball, and so to fit that in, that was a challenge as well.
The crepe myrtles up front really add a dramatic effect. Talk about that.
Well, it's going to be great. As they mature, we're going to get some good long color flower period out of that, probably 90 to 110 days. The idea was to try to create some tree form material that would flower, that would give us another plane of color in front of the house. Also to scale the house down a little bit, because we sit up on top of the hill a little. We didn't want it to seem like the house on the hill so much. We wanted to kind of frame it and soften it a little bit, and then use different planes of the plant material. We also tried to use a lot of flowering plants in a lot of different colors. We've got fragrances with sweet shrub and gardenia and the dianthus, and we've got things that are going to flower all spring and even fall blooming camellias and things. So we're really just trying to create as much seasonal interest as we can with the plant material and soften the look of the house.
What happened to the hot tub?
Well, the hot tub's coming. I think it's going to be phase 2 of the project. It'll be a fun thing to add, and I've been assured that it's coming, but you can't bite off too much at one time, so it's going to have to wait.
Well, I know Mike is beside himself because he's got an area to walk around in now, so I'm going to go have a talk with him.
Great.
Great to see you again.
Thank you.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. It's great to see you again. Don't imagine your guests will have any trouble finding the front door now. I mean, this is a real change. Is this the majestic house on the hill you had in mind?
It's better than anything I've expected, really. I mean, what a difference between the new garage, the sweeping driveway, the beautiful walls in the front. You couldn't ask for anything better. Particularly the tiering of the land. Remember, it had a big steep hill, and you never knew how far you were going to fall if you did start rolling down it.
Yeah, and you drive down the street and you see your own house now. It gives you a whole new perspective.
Big change, and I think that whole front image is changed dramatically, and it was the kind of the change I was looking for. To take this relatively small house and change it into something much larger, much broader, looking.
Well, this adds a whole new dimension to your entertainment plans.
It sure does. I mean, what a change. Look at this beautiful brick patio and the sweeping walls that are sitting height for the spring and the fall. There's not going to be a question that this is not a beautiful place to entertain.
Well, changes abound. The garage, the patio, the entrance. Which of them impacts your day-to-day lifestyle the most?
I think the combination of the driveway, the garage, and then the clarity that we came up with making sure that our guests have no question about what the front entrance is. Remember, we had the two different front entrances before. Well, we have one front entrance now and a beautiful sweeping walkway up to that place. So I think that's my favorite right now.
Well, it's all terrific. And let's take one last look at this project before and after. And Mike, thank you for taking us along on this landscaping odyssey.
Glad to have you.
It's been great. And thank you for joining us again on Groundbreakers. Join us again next time as we take part in another great landscape renovation. Goodbye.